Look, when you're looking at the data, you look at every single aspect of it, and you don't just go, try and look at the obvious sort of things. But some of the core things are, how many CVs are being sent out, and is there a big ratio of CVs going out to interviews? There's an issue. So what is that either they're choosing the wrong jobs, or they don't understand the jobs, or they haven't got the right CVs to it. Interview to deal ratios, are people having a lot of interviews and not converting them? So how are they prepping people? How well do they know the job beforehand? What's some of the reasons behind it? One of the most amazing things I always look at is the jobs per head. And once a year or so, maybe once every 6 months, I'll look at it and I'll badge everyone in the business into those who are putting X, Y, Z jobs. And every single time you move up by one job, you jump your whole, as an average, and there are obviously outliers in each one, but in each group, and you put it into these little brackets, it has about a £50,000 revenue effect to people. And the people who are at the top are the ones who've generally pulled the most jobs, and the people who are at the bottom are generally the ones who haven't done the most revenue behind that. So you're looking at jobs, you're looking at CVs, you're looking at interviews. You can look at candidates. There's a classic example of a guy who was struggling for a while, and we looked at 6 months of great performance and 6 months of bad performance twice for him. He was, there's a very roller coaster sort of aspect to what he was doing, and each time the difference, the sole difference in all the statistics that was glaring back up was the number of candidates he was working at one stage. And because he's such a nice guy, focusing on just trying to place these individual candidates and sort of over trying to put them in, put square pegs into round holes through best intentions and worst application. And actually, when he started then to expand that candidate base out a little bit for himself, that's where his good pockets would come. So you can look at, something someone said to me years ago was, what do you do when you do well, and what do you do when you do badly? And there are always statistical trends that come in behind that. But is it, to go back and answer the question directly, generally where you see the issues are jobs, candidates, CVs and interviews. And if you can look at all that, forget that the amount of time or phone time behind it, that's got an impact into it. But if you're looking at those and looking at things like the amount of jobs, for example, that have multiple interviews on them, there's statistics that we have that you've got about less than 10% chance of placing a candidate if they've got one. If you're placing a job, if you've got one candidate in the interview process. When it goes to 3, it moves up to 70, 80%. So making sure people continue to work that sort of process and put more on it, which then you tailor into the story of exclusivity and how they're asking for exclusivity around it, about how they're qualifying and all those sort of things. So it's always the core metrics and then what might be happening behind it and individualising it there.